All right, so when I was working on this and reviewing the literature, one of the things I noticed when doing research on blended learning was that some programs were very successful, students and teachers were really satisfied, thought that blended learning was great. There were other programs where they just didn't work well at all. So one of the things I was looking at and interested in is what can you do to make blended learning effective in the global classroom. So I looked at a number of different studies. These were studies that were done all over the world, including, but not limited to, Rikyo University in Japan, several schools in the US, a biology teacher training program, which was done simultaneously in Germany and Turkey, a medical worker training program in Kenya, and then I also looked at my own work with blended learning at a university in downtown Chicago. And so what I found was that basically you need three components in order to have a successful program. One is that you need to create a rich, multidimensional environment. The other is a strong presence by the instructor in the online aspect of the course. So the instructor can't just kind of set up some kind of discussion board and just let it go. The instructor has to be very much invested and very much a presence in the discussion board. And when I get to that, I'll kind of talk about what presence means and what it means to have a strong presence, because that is really key. One of the things that people my age tend to see a strong presence is very differently than the way our students see strong presence.
Sorry, can you just press F5 on the function 5?
Yeah, sure, no problem.
And I'll switch it over to...
Okay.
Yeah, go there. And then use the arrow button or
yeah.
Go down. Or you can...
Okay.
Yeah, thanks.
All right. So anyhow, so what I'm going to do in this talk is kind of talk about how each of these factors, what each of these factors is, how they can be used in a class, and then also look at some of the things that I designed when I was teaching in Chicago that bring all these factors together. All right, so first of all, who can blend? All right, who can create a blended class? So basically everyone, okay, can create a blend. And this is true even for face-to-face classes. And F2F is just kind of education speak for face-to-face. And even face-to-face courses or courses that are primarily face-to-face can benefit from some kind of online content. And this is especially true in the global classroom, where differences in language, differences in the background that students bring to the class, differences in culture, and also differences in preparation that students have. This makes customization very important for each of these classes. And so having a blended course actually allows for more customization of the class. So basically, anyone can blend. People who are doing primarily face-to-face courses, which are meeting 2 or 3 times a week, and people who are doing courses which are set up to be blended, where maybe the course is meeting 4 times during the term, or 5 times during the term, where that's kind of inherent in the design of the class. So you can have a degree of blended learning in any course that you want to have. All right. The 3 things that make a blended class successful are, number 1, a rich, multi-dimensional environment. So I'm going to talk about what that is. A strong integration of the online and face-to-face aspects of the course. So these 2 aspects have to be integrated, and we'll kind of talk about what that is. mainly because, and I've seen this in my own work and also in some of the research that I did, there is a tendency for students to see the online portion and the face-to-face portion as like two different worlds. And so it's very important to kind of integrate those two aspects. And then what I said earlier, which is there needs to be a strong presence by the instructor in the online environment. So, first of all, how do you create a rich environment in the classroom? Through in both the online aspect and the face-to-face aspect. So this is a list of some of the things that you can do, some of the things that you can include in your blended class. So there's, of course, the traditional lectures and discussion, labs and workshops, field trips, social media such as Twitter, Facebook, Line, simulations, recorded live events such as TED Talks, YouTube videos, etc., etc., etc. Podcasts. There's a lot of great software for creating your own podcasts, and also you can use podcasts as part of the course. I actually once had to create a podcast using my phone when I was taking care of my grandson. So I had to kind of set him down in front of the TV and kind of lock myself in the closet for 5 minutes to do this podcast. And then emerge. Fortunately, he's still sitting in front of the TV and hadn't decided to run amok. So there is a lot that you can do with podcasting as well. And then, of course, online learning communities such as discussion forums, wikis, MOOCs. Those are massive open online courses, and others. So stuff I didn't even mention, stuff I probably don't even know about is out there. Anyhow, so you take all of these elements and you kind of blend them into the class. And again, if you have if your class is a class where you're meeting 4 or 5 times during the term, maybe you want to include more of these things. If it's a class where you're primarily meeting face-to-face and you're using this as supplemental material, maybe you don't want to have so many. All right, so what constitutes a strong presence? Okay, so, and what I put here is, you're strong, but are you Twitter strong? Now, here's the reason for this little tagline here, is when you're looking at the issue of presence, okay, we need to look at where our students are coming from. So we've all had this experience of a student coming to us after class saying, hey, did you get my email? And of course, you didn't get their email because, and so, well, no, I haven't gotten your email. When did you send it to me? Oh, about a half hour ago. Okay, now, and the reason why they're saying this is because most of our students are coming to us with a primary experience in online media of using social media. So they're using things like Twitter, Line, Facebook, where they're used to kind of immediate feedback. Now, someone like me who went to graduate school when email was just starting out, if you didn't get a response from your professor after 1, 2, maybe 3 days, it was no big deal, But students don't see it that way, So having a strong presence becomes very, very important. And a number of the studies, especially the study that I read of the Kenyan medical worker program, they really identified this strong presence as being key to the success of the program. So, what do you do to create a strong presence? One is you need to lead the online discussions. And by lead, I mean that you need to initiate the threads. You need to monitor the online discussions so that people, so if you get a troll or things get a little out of control or people get a little cranky, you need to put the kibosh on that. I actually have had to delete student comments because they got a little heated or a little angry. So you need to monitor those discussions. Also set and maintain deadlines. These are deadlines both for you as an instructor. So I used to say I will, I check all of the discussions daily so students know, okay, just because I sent, I sent that, commented on that discussion thread at 1 a.m., on Tuesday, just because, my professor hasn't responded in 4 or 5 hours, that's not a big deal. So they need to know that, you will respond. And that when that you really have to stick with those deadlines. Okay, so if you say you're going to respond every day, you need to respond every day. Also, and this is key, push content. Okay, now by pushing content, what I mean is rather than doing something like saying, hey, there's a really cool TED Talk that you might want to check out, or there's this great website that you might want to check out, you actually need to give them the link or an attachment or something that they can use. So all they have to do is click on the material. So pushing content is also very important. Twitter is really great for pushing content. Actually, there are, now you can set up Blackboard so that in some of its incarnations, so that it will actually sync up with Twitter, or it will also, you can use it so that it just sends text messages to students. And that's key because, as many of my students have told me, they don't check their email accounts. Maybe they check them every 4 or 5 days. Email's not that important to them, but they are, pretty avid consumers and producers of social media. So things like Twitter, Facebook, Line, that the students are using already, things that they can use on their phone, they are much more likely to use and much more likely, and that means that it's more likely for us to benefit from using those. Also check in daily. Okay, that kind of, that allows you to monitor what's going on and also to avoid the problem of students thinking you're ignoring them. Okay, so that's it. When I say Twitter strong, that's what I mean. All right, integrating content. This is really, really important. So students often perceive the online aspect and the face-to-face aspect of the course as two totally different and unrelated worlds. They spend a certain amount of time in the classroom, and they go and do these online discussions, or maybe I send them a link which has a video or a TED Talk or some exercises to improve their grammar. And those are two different things, almost like they're two different courses. And the reason why we call it a blend is because we're bringing these things together. And so in order for the blend to actually work, you need to integrate these two things. Now, how do we do this? Okay, so it's very important to have the face-to-face and online components draw upon one another. So, for example, online discussions should refer to things that happen in the classroom. Things in the classroom should refer to things that go on in the online discussions. Actually, first study that I did of blended learning, I was using, I was trying to get students to speak in class. And I thought maybe if I could get them to kind of talk about some of the issues that they were talking about in class online, perhaps they would feel more comfortable speaking in class. That didn't actually work, but I did get them to speak a lot more in class. All right, so integrating content. You want to have these things work together. All right, so talked about that. So what does a blended lesson look like? So this is an example of a blended lesson that I used about 3 years ago, which integrates all of these things. So this is an example of like a rich environment. So we were reading Kafka's The Metamorphosis, and so I thought, you know, for the students to kind of get a better understanding of the Metamorphosis, maybe we could talk about it in relation to surrealism. Okay. Now, it just so happens the university where I was teaching was in downtown Chicago. We were about 2 blocks away from the Art Institute of Chicago, which has this great collection of surrealist art. So we organized a field trip where we went to the Art Institute of Chicago, went and looked at some surrealist art, so they got to see Salvador Dali, they got to see Magritte, you know, all of the great surrealists, and look at some of the paintings. So we also did a lecture discussion of surrealism. You know, why is it so weird? What does this have to do with this guy turning into a bug? So we talked about that as well. Did the field trip, and in addition, to kind of put this into the online world, I gave them links to the Art Institute website, which allowed them to do research on individual paintings, which they were going to view in the Art Institute Surrealism Gallery. And we had an online discussion of both the Metamorphosis and the surrealist art. They did an online journal about their trip to the museum. And I also included a clip from Alfred Hitchcock's film Spellbound, which was designed by Salvador Dali, so they could get kind of a film, an idea of how surrealism works from a film perspective, and then integrated that back into a discussion of the Metamorphosis. All right. So, blending a class allows instructors and students to have the best of both worlds. You're able to get the immediacy of the classroom experience along with the customization and convenience of the online experience. Blending is especially useful in the global classroom because it allows students who might feel uncomfortable speaking in class to eloquently share their ideas online. It allows students to review material at home or on the train at their own pace in ways that are not always possible in the traditional face-to-face classroom. It allows instructors to connect with their students on an individual basis and to customize coursework for individual students who might need